All right, the big news, like the big moves we all know about for the Texans. You're talking Danico Autry, you're talking Azeez Al-Shaair, you're talking Joe Mixon. You are talking the big man, Danielle Hunter. Okay, there were big moves that the Texans made, but in this video, I want to focus on a couple of those lesser known about moves. So if you want, go ahead, throw down in the comment right now, who is your favorite signing that wasn't one of the players I just mentioned? All right, those big time signings that we brought back. It could be someone you're bringing back, like a Desmond King. It could be someone new. A couple people we're going to talk about, don't want to spoil it. But before we get into that, hey, if you are new to this channel, you know what? We kind of like the Texans. We started covering the Texans a little before the season started, thought they had some promise. As you can see, you know, we are just football fans on this channel. We have our first channel with Sports Talk Detroit. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do that. We really love to have you subscribe. We really would. And just grow this community so we have more eyes on each video that we put out. So, what are a couple of these moves that I'm talking about? Well, for the first thing that I want to do is I want to go to the Houston Texans site itself, and let's just talk. Let's just talk about what moves have been going on with the Texans. So, as I said, Azeez Al-Shaair was signed. Great signing, by the way. I know that it was pricey, but it was worth it. Danico Autry, good signing. Mike Ford, good special teams guy. I've seen him in Detroit a lot. He plays with a lot of heart, a lot of effort. He's only 28 years old, so he still has a couple years probably left in the tank. Can play on the outside, can play a little slot for you. But he's mostly going to be a special teams guy. Lonnie Johnson Jr., you should know him. He spent the first 3 years with the Texans. Jeff Okudah, this is a flyer, a one-year prove-it deal for a former number 3 overall pick. If that works out, I have my doubts, but if that works out, it could be great. Del'Shawn Phillips, coming from Baltimore. Good player. He's going to be a special teams player. He is going to be one of those players who's actually very good in coverage from what I've seen. So we're going to talk about that. Tim Settle, big body in the middle. He really settles things down in the middle. See what I did there? I am so sorry. All right, David Sharp at tackle in his second year out of Florida, and Tommy Townsend, the punter. They also re-signed Noah Brown. So when you look at this list, I have a couple people that I kind of thought were, okay, they might actually be something for this team. So let's start on the defensive end, on the defensive side. We're actually going to stay on the defensive side. And let's go ahead and take a look at a guy named Tim Settle. So he is a 5th-round pick out of Vatech. They make good defensive players over there. He's only 26 years old. He'll be 27, I believe, by the time the season starts. Yeah, maybe it'll be close, but I believe he's 27 before the season starts. And yep, he is. There's his birthday. And here's the thing about him. He has put together quite a few years where he's just been a solid rotational piece in defenses. Like, he's just a solid rotational piece in defenses. He spent his first 4 years in the NFL, and if you see me looking down, don't worry about it. I'm just looking down at what I'm reading. All right. He spent his first 4 years in the NFL in Washington. He played his rookie year. These are total snaps, starting his rookie year going onward. 135, 314, 348, 210, 372, and 380. Those last 2 years were in Buffalo. So he didn't really mesh with the system that they like to run as much in Buffalo as he did in Washington. All right. So one thing that DeMeco Ryans knows is who runs my system, who can do things well. That's what you're paying him to be as a head coach. You're paying him to be a great defensive coach. So I think he absolutely has the ability to do that. And you're just gonna want to go back to what he was doing in Washington. He's never been a guy who's a huge pass rusher, even though he did get 5 sacks in 2020, the COVID year. He's been a subpar tackler the last 3 years. So I don't know if they were just putting him in difficult positions in Buffalo or if there's something going on, but he was an absolute poor tackler the last 3 years. But from what I've noticed, that usually happened over a few games, and that's really what caused his grade to be rough. For the most part, he was good. So if you can get consistency out of him, he can be a big body or big body, not a bottle, that kind of rotates in with Fatukasi and Autry, and he can be one of those guys that can be more of a run-stuffing guy, or really I would imagine he would be in that same role that Fatukasi is playing. Fularonzo Fatukasi, by the way, and he is going to kind of play a similar role to him. All right, there's another player who I actually like, and again, you need to build depth. Injuries happen. This is the NFL, and it is someone that should be familiar to you. It is Lonnie Johnson Jr. He is 28 years old. He's a good size, 6'2", 213-pound safety out of Kentucky. And he was a second-round pick by the Texans. He was actually a second-round pick by the Texans. And what you can see from him is he excels in certain areas. But mostly what I saw out of him is just inconsistency from year to year. His best year ever was 2020 with the Texans. He played almost full-time as a starter. He was out there for probably 75% of the snaps. He was out there for probably 55% of the snaps in 2021. 2021, he was horrible. Then he goes to Tennessee in 2022, New Orleans in 2023, plays sparingly. Very, very sparingly. Almost all coverage. Almost 100% throwing downs, going in there as an extra defensive back. And he played fine. Honestly, he had 2 solid years, small sample size. So you'd have to think that he's one of those guys at 28. Now he's got some veteran experience, and maybe, just maybe, he's got it figured out. Just maybe. Now, I do want to talk about one more thing before we end this video, and it's simply talking about another player that you guys signed that I just need to have, honestly, just a conversation about. And it is Joe Mixon. All right, it's Joe Mixon. And here you see that you signed him now. After you've traded for him, you signed him to a 3-year, $27 million contract. $13 million of that is guaranteed. So that tells me this is probably a 2-year deal. If he's still good to go and he's still healthy, you're good to go. Chris talked about what he brings to the team. He really was able to kind of put a lot on that. And interestingly enough, for me, what I really liked about it is the fact that he has just been a solid player with the Bengals. He has been a solid player. He has been really the model of consistency when healthy. And so I don't think the Bengals are anything special when the offensive system is very similar. So it's it's a similar tree, right? Like the Bengals, it's that Shanahan, McVay kind of coaching tree, and what it looks like. They've never had a great offensive line. They just haven't. And when you look at Joe Mixon, he's a guy who's never gotten a ridiculous amount of carries. So I think he's still got some tread left on those tires. But look at the consistency. Year 1, not great. 4.9 in his sophomore campaign, really good. This is average yards per carry. Then 4.1. Hurt in 2020, 3.6. Then stayed relatively healthy the last 3 years, 4.1, 3.9, 4.0. He is a model of consistency. What about the receptions? 52, 60, 42. He is a guy who can absolutely catch the ball out of the backfield. You love having a player like this because you can have him in on 3rd down. You can have him in on 1st down. You can have him in on 2nd down. It doesn't matter. He can do all of those things for you. He really can. And so I absolutely love seeing things like this. I love seeing players like this signed. I just wanted to talk about it. I did. I wanted to just say, this is going to be the model of consistency for your football team. So anyways, hope you liked the video. If you haven't yet, like I said, please subscribe. Let me know what kind of your favorite under-the-radar signing is, whether it's bringing someone back or whether it's bringing in someone new. I just wanted to talk about the new guys because I figure you're not as familiar with them. I'll give you a little something to be excited about. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.